Right, there we go. Hello, welcome to episode 414 of the Self-Help Podcast with me, Ed Lamb, and my good pal, Sean Ufford. How are you doing, Shawnee?
I'm doing very well. How are you? Are you good?
I'm fine, yeah. Just enjoying the constant sun shower weather, but it's warmed up again.
Yeah.
It's warmed up, thankfully, so we're okay. I think the hailstorm phase has passed through the UK now, hopefully for 6
Yeah.
months.
One of the theories is that we've slipped, so that we used to talk about April showers, and we're now having the April showers in May. The clock has slipped. So
Maybe.
who knows?
Who knows, indeed. Yeah, we got bluebells in the woods just behind the house, actually, and
Fabulous.
they've come out later, and the leaves have all popped out about a month or two later this year from the trees. I reckon, judging from photos from last year from lockdown. So, hey ho, nature knows what it's doing, I'm sure.
I know some of the plants around me seem really confused because it's like, it's spring. Oh, no, it's not. It's spring. No, it's not. It's like,
So today we're talking about imposter syndrome, which it's been a while. We have referred to this in the past, but this will be an interesting one to come back to, especially given the situation globally and in the UK as we all kind of come out of our shells slowly but surely. Before we come on to that, a quick mention of the website, which is liveinthepresent.co.uk for all the show notes and links. If you stick your email address in the box on the homepage, you'll get weekly reminders for the show, and you'll get a discount code for the book and some free meditation files as well. So yeah, highly recommend you doing that if you have a minute. So yeah, what you've been up to, Sean? How's life?
It's good. It's good. I'm looking forward to. I've got camper van head on, and been over there arranging the solar panel for the roof and all that kind of stuff. So, being able to be as off grid as much as possible, you know, and even if you go onto a campsite, by using the solar, not using the hookup. I was reading about how much energy you're saving in terms of generation, which was quite interesting, which made me think even more about doing the solar panel.
Brilliant. Yeah, off-grid life, man. That's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm excited to see it. I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on at the moment. First of all, I've had my first jab. I've reached the age. I'm old enough to get my first jab, so I've got to give credit to the health service system for for all its flaws and probably frustrations. I'm sure if you work within it or around it. But the operation down in Birkenhead that my wife and I both got done on the same morning. It's pretty amazing, really. I mean, it's amazing, but it's not. It's so simple. But the credit where it's due.
Yeah, I think it's the volume. That's the amazing thing when you're talking about millions. That's the thing. I'm still getting loads of people who are really resistant to the idea of having a jab anyway. And I get the odd thing sent to me. I'll see if I can find this thing here, which...
While you're looking for it, yeah, I wasn't really aware of it, but I spoke to a friend last night who's the first person that I've heard, and she said she has already declined politely the vaccine, not because she it's not no conspiracy stuff or she thinks there's going to be a microchip implanted, but she just doesn't think that her body requires it. Her vibe is that she'll be fine. So
I was sent this is the kind of thing that I get sent at the moment, and it's because I've dared to have the vaccine, considering who I am and what I do, kind of stuff. Yeah. So I got this one, and it's a quote from someone saying, "If you're an acupuncturist, Reiki healer, yoga teacher, chiropractor, herbalist, naturopathic doctor, or have the gift of healing and believe in this shot to protect you, you have sold out your beliefs to the very system that contradicts everything that you once stood for."
Oof.
Oh, that's a powerful put down, and I think that's fascinating, because I mean, me coming from the Ayurvedic world, which is full of medicines that change your system, and it's fascinating, the idea that if I become a vegan, my body is going to be so strong that all these things are going to bounce off me. you have to take into account the fact that you're not eating the vegetable, you're eating the ground that the vegetable grew in, which might not be up to snuff anyway.
Yeah.
But we've always medicated, animals self-medicate, yeah. And the idea of like a vaccine, oh, that's bad medication, as opposed to aspirin, which is the bark of a tree. Well, that's probably okay. You know, it's fascinating the way people discriminate to fit their own belief systems, I guess. You know, it's wonderful.
It is. It's, yeah, like I say, you just got to sit back and enjoy the ride, really, a little bit. And
yeah.
But yeah, no problem. And thankfully, neither of us had any kind of adverse reactions in the 2 or 3 days since, apart from a bit of a sore arm at the top, where it bruised a little bit. I don't know what, but yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
So
did you have Pfizer or AstraZeneca?
Well, Pfizer we had.
No.
I don't know if we had a choice. That's what we're given. I have heard again another friend who said that if she's given the choice of AstraZeneca, she's going to turn it down. So I would have had whatever, you know, just stick it in me. Let's crack on, you know. But people are funny, aren't they, man? People are fascinating.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more right now. We're talking about imposter syndrome. So give us a little definition from your mind of what imposter syndrome is, and then explain why you want to talk about that today, Sean, or this topic.
Well, I suppose the most extreme of imposter syndrome that I deal with, and I've had to deal with it quite a few times, are when you have a surgeon who has to do the most phenomenal things and actually goes through these great periods of self-doubt. And no one would ever believe it, because when they're on stage in their theatre, they're usually quite kind of loud and sometimes a bit objectionable. But underneath that, you can get a lot of fear from people that are scared that they've got it wrong. And one of the fears is that other people are going to realize that in some way they don't know what they're doing. It's that kind of thing that goes on. And that whole sense about, am I up to the task of what I'm said to be? You know, so it could be a mum, you know, husband, father, partner, clerk, director, whatever. And one of the things I'm getting at the moment is people that they've been out of the workplace working from home, and now they're going back into the workplace, and you think people would be going, oh my God, let me get back in there. And actually even people that don't want to work from home are telling me they're a bit scared about going back into the office because they're not sure they can do their job anymore. They feel like an imposter, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, am I up to it? Can I do it? And that kind of self-doubt is really a destructive thing, not nice at all.
No, well, I mean, you say it's destructive, but also in your blog post, which we'll link to in the description, that a little bit or a certain amount of self-doubt is healthy.
Yeah, because if you do question yourself, then you can start doing a self-audit. When people are at the point where I am right and you're wrong and I know everything and you can sort off, which I suppose is a bit like that message that I got that I just read out. When people have that kind of stance in life, which is an unmoving thing, which is quite arrogant, you know, they can make the most phenomenal mistakes without even being aware of it or not listening to other people. Whereas if you have enough humility to actually look at what you do and just check it out, certainly in psychotherapy, you're encouraged to kind of question your practice, you know.
Yeah.
And something I have to do all the time. I mean, one of the difficult things in the work I do is people committing suicide, which I'd like to say is a relatively rare event. It is. But some years I've had 2 people in the year that have committed suicide, people that I've dealt with at different times, you know. And that always takes me through that thing about, what did I do? Did I do the right thing? Did I do anything wrong? Is there more that I could have done? All that kind of stuff. And to me, that's a good thing, because it means that you do question your practice and what you're doing, and you keep up to date with things, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess with your role, people that come to you either, for the first time or have been seeing you for years, they kind of probably look to you as a bit of a font of all knowledge, almost godlike character. So how do you kind of,
Oh,
obviously, I know the real Sean,
yeah, you know the reality. Yeah.
but I mean, do you kind of let people know that, not so much a disclaimer to say that, you might not necessarily always say the right thing, but do you explain to people that you don't necessarily always have the answers to everything?
Yeah, sure. And the thing is that in terms of working with another person, my answers to things aren't necessarily their answers to things anyway. So my thing isn't that I demand that other people. It's like there are a lot of psychologists whose definition is when you think the same way that I do, you're cured. Yeah, and I see that too often. Yeah? Whereas in reality, it's when you think the way that you need to think for you, you are cured. Yeah, and I may not agree with that at all. It may not work for me, but if it works for you, it's dandy. It's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from my point of view, I've never been in that position and been able to say, you should do this. I could say to somebody, I've done it on occasions. If it was me, I couldn't do that. But I accept the fact that you can. That's fine. Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, do you ever go through periods of life where you question yourself and
yeah,
are you a good dad or whatever?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we can talk about parenting a bit later on, but yeah, I guess I'm reaching an age now. I'm 39, where I'm reasonably comfortable with what I do and don't know. I'm a self-employed. My main gig is say self-employed web designer and graphic designer. So a lot of people come to me kind of because I do a bit of everything when it comes to design and marketing and digital stuff. So I try and be quite clear with people now that what I can and can't do. Just yesterday I was on the phone to someone and they were asking me all these questions about advice on should I do this, should I do that? And I just had to say, I don't know. But 10 years ago when I was just setting up in business, there might have been a time where I would have said, yes, I can do that, or I will help you with that, and kind of got myself into a bit of trouble and taken on, something that I probably shouldn't have. So that's just kind of experience teaches me not to take myself down roads that I know will lead to anxiety, because I guess imposter syndrome and self-doubt ultimately can lead to quite serious levels of anxiety.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that one of the problems is that thing about we start to imagine the future, and that's a negative future that makes us scared. And so we haven't been in the office for months, and we're starting to imagine being in there, and we're writing negative scenarios in our head, in our imagination. And the problem is, it's the issue about what you think about, you bring about. It's like you can create such a negative state inside you about all the mistakes that you're going to make and things that you're going to get wrong, that you get so anxious that by the time you do get into the workplace, you do start making those mistakes and you do start getting those things wrong because you've already written the script to do it, rather than allowing yourself to go with that process. And yeah, looking at yourself, not being arrogant, but looking at yourself and being real with yourself. I mean, one of the things is, I've been saying this to people over and over again because I've got people going back into different organizations, is try not to go back in one big hit. I've got someone going back tomorrow, and the poor person is going to go hit the ground after months of being out and do a 12-hour shift. And it's like, that is just too much. At the end of that 12-hour shift, they're going to be on their knees. So what tends to happen is you go home, you're absolutely exhausted, you end up going to bed, then you've got to get up and go and do it again. Yeah. And in some of the places, I mean, this person, the shift patterns aren't kind. So it's 2 day shifts, 2 12-hour day shifts, followed by 3 12-hour night shifts. And then you can have a day off. And at the end of it, they are going to be absolutely out of it. But they're already going through the point of being really anxious about going back in and their ability to do the job in the first place.
Yeah.
So and there must be thousands of people in that position right now.
Mm.
Yeah, who I'm thinking, hey, come on, let me get back there. They're thinking, oh my God, I've got to go back to work. How am I going to do it? You know?
Yeah, well, that's right. It's going to be amazing to see. I mean, I saw a tweet about a poster someone had put up on their shop window, saying, "Sorry, but we've had to close the bar or the cafe or whatever. We're struggling with staff. No one wants to work anymore." Because
Yeah.
I think there was a time, obviously, when labour was, especially in cities, was readily available, either because people were, migrating to the UK to work, and maybe now those people have left. I think the population of London is down like 8%. I read at the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of workers that have gone home, and who knows if they'll come back. And then I guess there's the other side where people have kind of got used to living a bit more of a slower paced life, and they're kind of they don't want to go back. That's probably true for me in terms of I'm not too keen to kind of get back to the mayhem of kids parties every weekend and just cramming our diaries full of stuff to do every week. I've quite enjoyed certain aspects of slowing right down and just living a bit more locally, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether the system is going to force people back into it, and that will lead to levels of anxiousness and anxiety across society. Who knows?
I suspect that for many people, it's going to be like there's the fear of going back. But once they've been back in for a while, it might be, a few months, then it'll feel like they've never been away. And it'll be, oh, can you remember when we were off all that time? And they can't kind of relate back to that. I suspect it'll be like that. But it's getting over that initial hump of getting back in. It's a kind of a reactive anxiety. How do we deal with it? People go through lots of self-doubt in lots of situations in life, usually new situations. So it's like, can you remember when you had the kids? And they don't come with instructions printed on their bottoms. It's like you have to work out how to do it. And when the child's crying and they're crying all night long, and you're going through, I don't know what to do, how can I start doing, what do I do? And you learn the hard way, don't you? But you go through that complete self-doubt about, I can't do this. What am I supposed to do? And that happens so much in life. Whether it's retirements, whether it's redundancies, all kinds of stuff. When people have got that they've come out of a job that they've been doing for years. The company's closed, they've been made redundant, whatever. And that's happened a lot with organizations closing this year. But those people have to go out, whereas maybe they would have stayed in that one role for maybe the whole of the rest of their working life. Now they've got to go out and be confident and go for an interview and go, I'm here, employ me. And they're actually going through, oh my God, can I do this? Yeah. And at the same time, there's 200 other people applying for the same job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, lots of people are really looking at themselves and going, oh my God, who am I? Can I? Yeah. And it's something that we really have to start to step back and give ourselves a break.
You've talked in the past, particularly actually in the health service, maybe this is where people will get kind of promoted to until they reach the point that they are no longer like capable of that role. So
yeah, it's much more common in the public sector than in the private sector. So civil service, councils, education, certainly health, where people get promoted and promoted and promoted, and they go beyond their ability to function. And usually what they do is they bully the people underneath them to make up for their own shortfall. Yeah. So we end up with this kind of bullying culture. But we have the potential for that with people going back into work. If someone's in a manager position, director position, they're going back in and they're feeling inadequate about things. They like to end up shouting at the people underneath them to make up for what they feel they're getting wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that impacts so many other things as well, doesn't it? Because I've got friends who are on that conveyor belt, and I wouldn't say that they're kind of reached the point yet where they're out of their depths. But I guess I think I can't remember the exact quote, but something like one of the most addictive drugs in the world is a monthly salary, in terms of, because yeah, you do that job, you climb the ladder, you get the bigger house, you get the bigger car, you have all these extra responsibilities, more kids, whatever, and then you kind of maybe you do reach that point where you're feeling a little bit or a lot out of your depth, and you're not enjoying your work, but you still have all these obligations and all these financial family
Yeah,
obligations, and you kind of on
yeah,
this conveyor belt, and
yeah.
yeah, I mean, most people cope with it, I assume, but yeah, it can have some
It's interesting that, because I think women cope with it better than men, because women go through more changes, like they get pregnant and they give birth. And it's like the last child stops breastfeeding, the last child goes to school, the last child leaves home. Each time those things happen, the answer to the question, who am I, for the woman changes. Yeah, but men's lives are much more constant. They don't have that level of up and downness. Yeah, but I have seen so many men. I mean, it must be thousands and thousands of men over the years who, in their 50s, go into this crisis where they really don't want to do what they're doing anymore. Retirement is a way off, but they've still got kids at university. And it's like they feel in this kind of trap, and it is like Groundhog Day, where they drag themselves out of bed, drag themselves into work and have to function, and then drag themselves home and smile. And life becomes something we know about the increase in suicide stats of men in that kind of age range, and a lot of that is because men really don't want to do what they're doing anymore, but they haven't got a choice. And the easiest choice is to step off the bus.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess we'll come to your advice, your professional advice in a sec. But my tip is then just to kind of take a step back. I mean, things I've done in my life in the last 5 years, 10 years, have been to kind of rather than overextend when we should. We're at that stage when we should have a 4-bedroom house now with a driveway and that we could fill with all this other stuff and a bigger mortgage. I kind of made a conscious decision. This will do. This is perfect size for us. The mortgage is going to be really, relatively comfortable, probably, hopefully forever. And we won't need to stress too much about this, that, and the other, and have a massive money pit financially that needs feeding. So that's my little tip, is to just take a little step back, or maybe question whether you need to make that next step up that society expects from you in terms of the bigger house and the bigger car and all that stuff. I won't get started on the cars. Yeah. But what can you advise in terms of avoiding that?
Well, I've been in that position. I had the big house. That in the end was like shoveling £10 notes inside a dragon's mouth. It's like, why am I doing this? I'm actually working to support this bricks and mortar and this piece of grass rather than actually living my life. And I think it's dead easy to get into that trap because you're successful. And I really got stick for it from people when I downsized into the house I'm in now. So people would say things like, "Oh, I see you're deciding to live modestly," and that was like an insult. Yeah, and yes, I'm happy to be living modestly. Thank you. And I think that's true of all things. Like, how many pairs of shoes do you need? How many bags do you need? How many dresses do you need? How many suits do you need? All that kind of stuff. And it's only when we stop and do the audit and we look at what we're doing. There was a program on the TV last night, and they went into this couple family, and they looked at it from the point of view of their bills, the food, and something else. I don't know, but they did a kind of a redesign of their lives over a very short space of time that actually meant they were £1,000 a month better off. Just by getting themselves organised and doing an audit. Why are you doing this? Why do you do that instead of this? And most people are probably in the same position. Aren't they? One thing that's fascinating in just driving around, when you can drive around, is that the amount of houses that are up for sale. Now, are they up for sale because people that have been in lockdown and they're thinking this house doesn't work for me? And is it that they're looking to upsize, or are they looking to downsize? I don't know what the stats are. It would be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing, really. I mean, I think house prices are kind of going a bit crazy at the moment. I've been reading, and I don't know if it's everywhere or just where we are on the world. But I mean, yeah, last time house prices went a bit nuts, things went pop. So
yeah, and that's the problem. Is this an increment, or is it a bubble? Because it is a bubble, it'll burst at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so what about people that are kind of a bit anxious then about going back to work, or kind of, I think for a month from now in the UK, and even from Monday the 17th of May, which we're approaching here as we record, I was reading what we can do, and certainly by June, whatever it is, the 21st, all being well, basically, the shackles are off and we can do what we want. And I was thinking, I was getting a bit nervous about it because I've been so used to this new way of living. So what kind of tips can we offer to people then?
Well, I think that number one is that this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, right? And we're right in the middle of that, aren't we? We're right in the middle of mental health disturbance, whether it's anxiety, whether it is depression, whatever's going on. It's something that we do need to be aware of. And I think that the thing is that if you are going back into work, the important thing is that you start to talk to somebody if you're feeling anxious. And that maybe you can talk to your boss. They may have an occupational health department. You may be able to talk to the doctor or whatever. But it's like you need to be checking things out. Because, and that's the one thing, is that when you go back into the workplace and you're feeling anxious, but you're going to put this face on it, so you look good, everybody else is probably doing the same thing, and it only takes one person to crack and start to share what they're feeling, and everybody will go, and I think it's going to be a strange time for people coming back together again and having to form their roles. One of the things also that goes alongside that is the amount of people that are telling me that the systems have changed. They've got to go back into new systems, and those systems may be like computer systems, organizational systems, but also it's kind of ethos and ideas as well. Things have changed during this lockdown. Organizations have changed the way they're working, changed the way they're doing things. So it's like talking has to be the thing, but that means being honest with yourself first, and then being able to share it with another person. I'll come back to it, but my results for the week is a new charity that's been started around here for men, and it's we have a big service here to support women. There's a lot of charitable stuff to support women, especially in abuse situations or whatever. Well, the pennies finally dropped. I know a couple of guys that are doing this, and they are good guys, but they're running this organization for men. It's support for men, and it's something, I don't know, we've now got a lot of sportsmen talking about stress and anxiety and all that kind of stuff, and that kind of makes it a bit more acceptable for us fellas to kind of fess up to it. But it's something that we have to get our heads around more and more, especially now. And if I'm going to be the voice of doom, the thing that bothers me most is we start to get through this summer, isn't it, zippity-doo-dah, and then if we go back into a lockdown type situation in the winter, it will be catastrophic for lots of people if we don't start dealing with these things now. I mean, I really hope we don't. Let's see how we go. And as it says at the end of my podcast, and I keep saying it all the time, if we all look after each other, we're all going to be all right, But we have to all start being okay with each other and being prepared, to share the fact that we need help, but also to offer help to others. it all goes together. Yeah.
It does. All right. What's your resource of the week, Sean?
So on my resource of the week is called Journeyman, and I put the site on there, the link.
And CIC. Cool.
Yeah, and that is something that, I mean, really, fellas, anyone that's listening to this, or if you know a fella who's being, I'm tough and strong, give them the link. Just let them go and have a look at it. It's worth just looking at the website, and and then you could connect locally here with it.
Cool. I haven't really thought of one actually. I was trying to think as we went, and nothing's popped into my head. But I'll put a link to the mental health awareness week.
Yeah.
Can investigate. Maybe propagate through your networks, and if you work in an office environment that's kind of starting back up again, just kind of send it around and get people to think about this stuff.
Yeah. Have you made decisions about going back into the office for you?
No, I'm going to go in once this week again. Sort of forcing myself to. I've organised a meeting with someone where I can do a walk and talk down there. I don't know.
Are you in a situation where you don't really need to go back into an office?
Yeah. I never really needed my office so much. It was just a way of me getting me out of the house and stepping up a little bit. But maybe it's the weather. I don't know. And but I'm still doing the school pick up and drop off, and I'm quite enjoying it. Really. I mean, we'll see. I'm going to start easing my way back in the next few weeks and see how we go. But still a bit up in the air, all that stuff, to be honest.
I'm very aware that there are. I have an amount of people I work with that are saying, "Why don't I come and do face to face?" But I have the majority of people won't do face to face again now. No, and I mean, because I do stuff around the world, it's kind of fairly normal for me to only ever have seen people online and never seen them face to face. But I think that's going to become more and more the way things are working.
Yeah, it's great. It's fine. You can't beat face to face for certain things, but well, we're doing it right now without any issues, aren't we? And I am going to come and see you. Maybe next week I'll come down on the bike because I want to show off the new e-bike.
You need to make sure you don't get any punctures this time.
Yeah, another one. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube now, if you're watching the video, is the thorn I just pulled out from
the thorn.
Picked up last night. So, but patched it up and on we go. Yeah, crack on.
Yeah, doing okay. Yeah, good.
All right, Sean. Thanks for your time. I'll catch up with you next week.
Okay. Yeah, keep smiling. You take care. See ya. Bye.
Bye.